Hey, you guys, welcome in. Welcome in, everybody, to our February webinar. All right, chat is always open. I love my chatty girls and guys. Let's everyone share what we're binging because Traitors finale comes on tonight, Erin.
I know nothing about it other than that you love it.
The greatest show on television. And then the new episodes yesterday dropped of Love is Blind, and they're all trash. So
I
who are
can't watch
you?
Love is Blind. It is like so anxiety provoking for me to watch these
Yeah,
people.
it's pretty bad.
Oh,
So what are you binging then? Or do you
no,
even watch TV?
no, I actually do. So I actually don't watch TV. However, recently, ever since I love Jonathan Bailey, ever since Wicked, like I'm a big
Oh,
Jonathan Bailey. And then I talked to you and you're like, oh my God, he's in Bridgerton. I was like, what's Bridgerton? So I did binge Bridgerton. I do it sometimes when I'm on the treadmill. That's like the only time I watch it. So I go like in and out of my binges, but only when I'm
you
on
know the new episodes drop today.
Bridgerton.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on season 3, so I have to
Oh,
catch
okay.
up.
So season four started and they released half, and then I think the rest of them came out today. So
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
excited about Bridgerton. Come on, guys. Where's everyone in my chat? Usually the chatty is going crazy. I finished Wayward. What's Wayward?
I don't know anything about that either. No idea.
And of course, I can always count on Chelsea to be watching Love is Blind. All the men are trash except for Connor. Oh my gosh, I love Connor. He does not deserve Brie. I'm not going to give any spoilers here. And yes, we love Vic. Okay, guys, let's jump in. Enough TV. At some point, I'm just going to do a full hour of TV. If you guys are interested in that, send me an email and we will just do a webinar dedicated to my favorite shows. But today we are going to be talking about students, getting them not only placed in jobs, but making money. And so I want to introduce some of you all know Erin. I've had her here before. Erin is the president. Is that the right title? Yeah,
Mhm.
president of Qnity. And I adore Qnity and everything you guys do with schools. So for those who don't know you, go ahead and tell us what you do, Erin.
Yeah, well, um, I'm newer to the school world. We've been around schools for about 4 years now, but we started off in the professional space. So we work with large salon spas and med spas and their teams to drive profitability, sales, et cetera. And I also grew up in a salon. So my father was a CFO and CPA and also co-owner of an 8 location salon spa group. So I learned very quickly once he exited from those salons what it was like to actually like have to pay for services and products. So that was a rude awakening. But yeah, we really realized in working with these large salons how much opportunity there was to educate students and stylists and hairdressers and massage therapists and SDs before they actually entered the workforce because we were seeing so many financial challenges, not just from the service provider level and the professional level, but that extended up, frankly, to the entire business, right? Because most of these businesses, salons and spas, are opened by great hairdressers or massage therapists or SDs that want to open their own business, but the business and financial side is
They're
a
not
challenge
business
for
people.
most.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
not business people. That's not
yeah,
really what schools focus on. We focus on getting them licensed and we focus
right.
on practical. And of course, financial literacy business is always a small portion of their
Mhm.
curriculum. But we're going to get into a little bit later what your curriculum does and how I think it can help schools. But not just that, even if you aren't a user of Qnity's curriculum, we're going to give you some really solid takeaways because today this conversation is more relevant than ever. So, Erin, I hate to do it, but it's the elephant in the room. We're going to just quickly get this out of the way. In case you don't know, there's some very, very scary GE regulations coming down. And
Mhm.
we thought they would all go away when the new administration came in. And it turns out it looks like Trump doubled down in the one big beautiful bill,
Yeah.
doubled down on these regulations. And so it is scary for schools. You want to go ahead and sort of give our audience the overview on what that means if it's not changed, if it's not overruled and reversed.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody on this call, is everybody familiar with the Financial Value Transparency Act and gainful employment and everything like that? I don't want to do um,
There's probably owners are, but I would say a lot of admin teams probably don't.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so basically it's just essentially to put it like very, very simple without going into depth around it. It's essentially schools are measured off of not necessarily placement is one of them, but really what the government is looking at is how much money are graduates making after they graduate, right? And the numbers are pretty bleak. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics shows an average hourly rate of $16.95, which is pretty abysmal. And we know that there is a ton of challenges with that data and how it's calculated. And so, Jen, just cut me off if I'm like going down a rabbit hole
No, I mean, you're
and
totally
not.
right. I mean,
Yeah,
essentially, they have to be making, guys, I would say, depending on your state, anywhere from 35 to $37,000
yeah.
a year. If
Hmm.
they aren't, your school, and what they're doing is they're going to take data from your graduates 4 years
Right.
post graduation.
Yeah, 4 years post graduation, and it's like a random cohort. So it's like a cohort of graduates that they pick. And so basically, what that means, it is estimated that those regulations, if they go into effect, which we're in the proposed rulemaking, and the comment period starts very soon, where we have a chance to. I'm going to park that because I'm not the policymaker. But anyways, what
Mhm.
that means is 90% of schools are estimated to close because they will fail to meet their compliance around that, and then they will not receive access to federal funds. Those will essentially be removed, and the vast majority of schools are pretty reliant on federal funds to support their students to um, in tuition costs. Right? Most people don't have the opportunity to pay for programs out of pocket.
Yeah, so you're going to have to pass that benchmark 2 out of 3 years.
Hmm.
The first year, if you fail, again, over 90% of schools are on the fail list right now. So
Hmm.
you will have to put it on your website. You'll have to tell your current students. You have to tell your incoming students that,
Right.
hey, this is this career, the average, the average salary of our graduates is $16,000 or $20,000, whatever it is below that benchmark, which could be really scary. If you fail at second year, you lose Title IV, or I think maybe it's just loans, not grants, which is still super scary. There's
Yeah.
also some ruling around that. So I don't say that just to be super scary. This is not a GE webinar. AACS had a webinar on Tuesday addressing this. If you go on their website,
Mhm.
you can watch the recording. AACS is not the only active group doing this. There are several groups in pockets working this from different angles. And so today's webinar is going to be more proactive. Here's the deal, guys. Your graduates should be making more money. You should be in the business of wanting your students to make money. And we can fight this from every single angle. And we can say, and we will be talking about it. Maybe they're not reporting tips, or maybe they're not doing this. Or at the end of the day, if you're a good school, you should want your graduates to be making a ton of money. And not just a couple all-star graduates. You should be wanting all of them to make a lot of money. And so we are going to be discussing that today on how placement is important, but getting them paid is just as important. And if these rules do go into effect and do happen, God, it's more important than ever. So, what can we do specifically about that? The very first time I met Erin was 2 or 3 years ago at AACS, and I had a presentation about Beauty Schools Directory. And then she had a presentation about the data study. Erin, that's the first time I ever met you, is when you presented.
Oh,
Yeah, you were wearing a long skirt. I still remember you.
I don't remember the first time we met. That's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. It was the last day of AACS. I think it was like 3 years ago. And you were asked to speak on the brand new data study that had come out. And so
Mhm.
I want you, we're going to kind of go through a little bit of that right now. I think a lot of schools have statistically like relied on the US Bureau, and a lot of their stats are showing, you get paid 12 to $16 an hour. You guys did a separate study. So
Mhm.
what can you tell us from those findings? How much are hairdressers and beauty and wellness professionals actually getting paid?
Yeah, and I think the good news is it's very different than what we found in the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. And I'm going to park why that is and try to succinctly describe why the difference is, because there's also, how do we get this gap, right? So we did about three different compensation studies. And before I get to those findings, I do just want to reiterate for those of you, if you're in an educator or an admin role and you hear this news of like, oh my God, 90% of schools are at have a threat of closing. I also understand even from like a protection of your own role, that can be a little scary. And so I do want to reiterate like these things have been going on forever for challenging cosmetology schools. Like every administration, there's a new regulatory threat and like it's always a big deal. And so just like it is a big deal, but also this is something that's been going on for a long time. So, anyways, as it relates to earnings, so we did three different compensation studies. And what we wanted to find out, we wanted to answer a very simple question. How much do beauty and wellness professionals actually make? Because the Bureau of Labor Statistics does not tell the full story. And so what we did to get earnings that could directly go head to head with what the government was operating off of was earnings that are verifiable. That's the number one mission. So earnings that are not verifiable are those who are solopreneurs or working on their own, right? There's a million challenges of trying to get verifiable earnings from that category, which absolutely is a large sector of the workforce in beauty and wellness. So push that aside because we couldn't get to that sector of the pie. What we could do though was we could take employees who are operate or who get compensated through W-2s, right? Which is exactly what's submitted to the government. So these are verifiable earnings documents. So we did three different compensation studies. The first two were kind of for your bread and butter salons. So think of a hairdresser working in a salon with between 1 to 10 locations, right? Like kind of your bread and butter. I've got 4 salons on my street that fall into this category, whether a nail salon, just kind of your typical salon in a community. So that was one sector. And then we also did it back with chains. So in the salons with between 1 to 10 locations, we found a little bit higher earnings, right? Those were more of your like luxury salons or spas. And then we did chains. But either way, when we combined those participants, which by the way was about 30,000 W-2 beauty and wellness professionals, mostly cause, we found average earnings anywhere from $26 an hour to over $40 an hour. Okay. So that is very different than what we're finding on the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So that gap in terms of earnings, the luxury salons and spas were obviously higher, chains were a little bit lower just due to population. So either way, that's a very different picture than what is presented on the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Furthermore, the average hairdresser on a W-2, let's look at the 1 to 10 salon category, was making about $54,000 per W-2 earnings. Okay. However, if you annualize that to a 40-hour work week, the average hairdresser would make $84,000 a year. And that is
So
without
they're
doing
making $54,000 working how many hours a week?
26-ish.
Insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of the big picture, you guys, is when you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics and also tactically of like, how do you get your graduates to make more money and what conversations can you guys have? Is a lot of students are treating this as a part-time position.
Yes.
And the government is not interested in giving federal funds to part-time jobs, right? So how do we make sure the graduates that you're attracting, of course, that's a huge benefit of this career. That's kind of the double-edged sword because flexibility is what is powerful about this career. But you want people that are going to figure out how they can make a career out of this, which at least to the starting point means they need to work more hours, right?
And
Ideally,
if you're in
yeah,
admissions, go ahead and hop in the chat and tell us how often you hear that people are actually choosing this career so they don't have to work full time.
yeah,
Because I believe that that to me is the scary part, and that is the reality of beauty, Erin, is
yeah.
that people do choose it because they're moms, because they want to
Mhm.
work 2 days a week, because they want to, do hair and makeup for weddings just on Saturdays. Renee, who works for a
Mm,
multi-chain school, so that is the biggest selling point.
right.
Heidi said just about everyone. So this
I
is
know.
why they're choosing the career, and that does make it super scary. So let's look at it from a standpoint of education. Obviously, that is not. It's hard. It's like, hey, we really want to stay in business. So if you come to the school, do you think you could work 40 hours a week? Like, obviously, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, of course, of course. So Well, and it's such a huge challenge because here's the other thing is we've done a ton of data and surveys on other topics too, and we did a study that had about 10,000 professionals in this. We did this a while ago, and we asked them, what is your primary motivation for going in a career in beauty? Is it doing what you love? Is it making money or having a life? 90% of the people said one answer. What do you think it was?
They want the balance. They want the life.
No, it's doing what they love. That's
Oh,
why
really?
that's why they chose the career. Now, this survey we did about like 7 years ago, so we haven't re-updated it. So I feel like that would be really interesting to change. But when you think of the
Interesting.
motivation into why somebody would go into the career, it's because they like it, you
It's
know?
the passion. Yeah,
It's the
that does make
passion.
sense. Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So, and then again too is if people are very used to, and again, we can't change how the government measures and qualifies where federal fundings go besides lobbying and telling our story, right? But like in theory, if somebody wants to work two days a week and make, 25 grand a year doing it, it's like as a part-time job, if they're not responsible fully for the income of their household and it brings them joy, it's like you kind of did your job, but that's not what the government cares about.
And that really is who we are attracting.
I know.
The majority of the people who are enrolling are women, and a
Yeah.
huge portion of them are moms. So that does make it a little more difficult. I know this is a
Yeah.
really small sample size, but in case you all didn't know, you are not looking at one TikToker, you're looking at two. Okay. So Erin has started making videos
Mhm.
about trying to see people's ROI with going to beauty school or seeing what people are doing with their license. Again, smaller sample size, but you are getting tons
Mhm.
of comments. Has there
Yeah.
been anything that has like changed your opinion on sort of like this industry as a whole, or something that's enlightened you that you hadn't thought about? I would love to hear feedback just straight from your TikTok.
Yeah, so I have to give this to Jen. You guys may have known we partnered with something which Jen will talk about momentarily. But our passion at Qnity is helping people to make more money. And so I was really resistant to TikTok. And Jen has really but because of what we're doing, I'm forcing myself to learn it. And that was one of the questions that I posted. And I got 138 comments just asking a really simple question. Did you get an ROI in your beauty school education? And it's really interesting because I'm looking at the comments and typically to get that kind of feedback, you guys, you'd have to send out like a market research survey to I'd go through like a corporate channel and you'd wait for results. And so it's just really interesting to kind of get that feedback. But I am seeing I am seeing a ton of people that say absolutely they got a return on investment. And
That's great.
also, and like maybe I'm biased because Jen and I had different comments. Jen and I were on a call and she was like, "Oh yeah, like did you see the comments? A lot of people said they didn't get an ROI." And I'm like, "I see all these people that did." Um,
I saw it right when it came out.
yeah.
So I
So,
haven't gone back. So I think you started getting more positive, which by the way, just so you guys know, we talked about this before. I mean, obviously social media is going to be the place where people go negative. So I expected it to be more negative than positive. And Erin's sort of seeing the opposite. People don't mind spending 20 grand on education because they did get their 20 grand worth.
like, can I just read you some of these?
Would love to hear it.
Okay. This is from Nail Tech. 1000% yes. If I knew where I am now 2 years later, I would have paid more to get here. 1,000, this is another comment. 1,000%. I paid off my school in 4 months. 11 years later, I work 2 long days a week and then I'm home the rest of the week with my kids. I make the same as my husband who works 60-hour work weeks. I'm going back to school for a full-time career change, and this job allows me to do that to have time with my family. Let's say, yes, in the sense I've been able to stay employed consistently for 14 years, but I'm not paying back Sally Mae. LOL. Next, absolutely. I went to a small aesthetics program 10 years ago and I paid 7 grand. The ROI was easy in the first year. Next one. Oh my gosh, a million times over. I was able to get fast fun, have been doing hair for 15 years now. And I've been taking care of business since.
Wow. Look at
15
that.
years in, I made the investment back in a year and a half. Then I got this one. No, for 25 grand, absolutely not. I wish I did an apprenticeship like the young girls in our salon. Okay, that's just a few of them. So,
I mean, super enlightening. And
yeah.
that to me, if you work in a beauty school today or you're an owner of one, that right there is confirmation that you are, I mean, you guys are working in a great place. You really are changing lives, which is what you
Yeah.
want. Like you don't want to be a scam artist. Like you definitely
Yeah.
to be working at a school that does provide education where people find an ROI. It's definitely happening out there. But again, if they're working a couple days a week, they are going to be needing to make more money. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about placement versus income. Placement, of course, has been so important because there are placement rules where in order to keep your financial aid, you're going to have so many graduates within a year placed in the industry. And let me go ahead and add this caveat, which I don't think we said at the beginning. When we were talking about those GE rules, that is not pulling post 4 year graduation information in the industry. That's just whatever they're reporting to the IRS. So they could be working at Buffalo Wild Wings, and that's
Hmm. Yeah.
counting.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So we're not,
it's yeah.
it's
And
just income.
it's just income, and it's comparing to somebody with a high school diploma. Basically, they want to know if somebody chooses to invest education here, are they making somebody making the same as somebody with a high school diploma in that category?
Yeah. And so again, they're pulling income, whether they are in the industry or not, you guys. They just
Hmm.
want to make sure that if someone spent money to go to school, took out student loans to go to school, that in turn they're making more than someone who graduated high school and is 10 years out of high school. And generally those people are probably working 40-hour work weeks. We can talk about all the reasons why this whole rule is absolutely insane.
Hmm.
But regardless, I think schools have been so concerned about those first couple years post graduation and getting people placed in jobs. That is important. But have you seen a shift recently, Erin, with schools being more concerned about income? Is that even with all the schools you work with, is that something that people are more mindful of now?
I hope so because I feel like I've been screaming this on the mountaintop. It's like all of these things, and you have too, Jen. It's like all of these things matter, and I get it. And we have to lobby and we have to put efforts to try to kind of challenge the way that these programs are being measured. To your point, like we can talk about all of the qualitative elements, like the problems with this metric too is that how many people are moms staying home and raising their children in that cohort too, right? Like there's a million things. Bottom line, the government doesn't care about those things. They care about how much money are your graduates making, period. They're not measuring what job they're in, to Jen's point too. They just want to know, are they making money? So to me, what I think is most important for a trade school and a beauty school and anyone who is producing career-driven graduates is how do you teach them actually how to make money? Whether, of course, you want to figure out how to teach them to make money in their trade, right? Because that's ultimately if demonstrates your success as a school as well. But if you're raising people that understand how to get a job, how to sell, how to make money, how the foundational elements of finance work, I think there's a win in that, right? And so if you can teach them the basics around making money and basic professional skills, hopefully that can carry on regardless of what technical trade they're doing, right?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about teaching them about income, what kind of things should we be teaching them? Which, by the way, another thing that you've been doing on TikTok is, which was blowing my mind, some of the comments, is when you're like, hey, do you know that you
Report
have to
tips.
report your tips? Like,
Yeah.
and people are like, oh, I mean, like grown adults are like, no, you don't. Like literally,
Yeah.
they're trying to tell you, Erin, in the comments, it's actually not true. And you're like, what are you talking about? So that right there is something, it starts in school.
Hmm.
Schools need to be teaching their students that.
Yeah. 100%. And so again, with the whole tip thing, like I've had some interesting changes of hearts around the tip element too, because there's this big movement of course, we want to encourage students to report their tips. And that does matter, right? Is that going to make a super meaningful difference in the earning metrics? I do think it could be meaningful. And I do think we need to be teaching students to report all income because it's what's legal and not doing so is illegal. And it gives the whole industry a bad rep, which by the way, part of me, if I'm looking to represent the professionalism of the industry, when I see those comments, like, girl, where have you been? We haven't reported our tips forever in the history of this industry or something like that. I got,
Yeah.
or like tips are gifts. I'm like, ooh, I don't really want to draw attention to this, but like, but that's the responses I'm getting. Like they're trying to correct me that tips are considered gifts or they're not considered income. And so to me, there's a huge educational gap and the technical skill I believe can come. Like your graduates aren't graduating with perfection and mastery of the skill of cutting hair or doing aesthetics, they're going to learn that on the job anyways. But if you can teach those skills, like guys, your compensation tips are need to be reported per the IRS. Like that's basic 101 financial education that most people aren't getting. And so that's one
Which,
thing.
by the way, more incentive than ever to do it now. I mean,
Yeah,
it's tax free for the first $25,000 in tips that they
100%. 100%.
no
So,
reason not to be doing that.
yeah.
Okay, so that's one of the things. What else can we be? Why don't you sort of give us an overview
Hmm.
of why Money EDU, why your program
Hmm.
is different than just like the couple pages that might be in their regular curriculum, teaching them about financial literacy.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've been doing this for quite some time. I also mentioned my business partner and our founder, who's also my father. We're a family owned and operated business, was a former CFO turned multi-location salon owner and also a CPA and tax professional by trade in his pre-days of the career. And so I think that's what's really important is there is a level of rigor to the curriculum. It's not just like, I think a lot of people you see just like go make programs without experience. And that we are a firm believer that there needs to be an expert on programming. And so there is rigor when it comes to the curriculum on that. Tom is also, our background is really how do we make finance simple, visual, and actionable for a right brain dominant, creative, emotional, intuitive learner who doesn't like numbers, who in fact maybe fears the subject entirely. So the whole curriculum is kind of written with that philosophy in mind. But it's really the most important financial topics that your students and really anyone needs to know. So it's 8 lessons, or I'm sorry, 8 modules all around the most important topics. And then within each module, there's six distinct lessons. Okay. So the first 3 lessons are like foundational topics that are appropriate to any discipline. Like anyone on this call could probably still benefit from any of those topics too, right? Like as refreshers, just anything anyone needs to know about finance. And then the next 3 are micro lessons specifically filmed and geared towards somebody in a beauty and wellness career, like specific things they need to know. So, module 1 is fully about mindset, like helping people change their mindset around money. Jen, you and I have had a lot of conversation about this. Like, you didn't grow up with money. And so, what changes did you need to make? Which, I think you had that kind of internal fire to change your circumstances. But
Right.
you guys, I'm shocked by how many times I go into schools and the topic of money trauma comes up, right? Like people have had really traumatic and negative experiences with money and it informs their decisions they make every single day or don't do. So really starting with the inspiration. Then number 2 is about how they actually make money. So all the topics that we're talking about today is how do you produce people that know how to drive money in and build an income. And we also talk about different compensation structures and things like that. And one area that we talk about in that program too, I think is really important, is so many schools are hearing that they want that students want to be their own boss and they want to go it on their own. And we do not advocate for that for the start of it because most
I
people,
was really just going to ask you that. I was
yeah,
like, are you going into schools at least and saying, we don't think you should go salon suite as soon as you graduate?
we don't say it as
As
direct.
bluntly as that.
We don't
Yeah.
say it as blunt as that. We let the education inform them of that because once we tell them the reality of the numbers and recommend, like we do recommend for most people at this stage in your career, being an intrapreneur means working within the structure of an existing business is the best place. And I got to be honest, I've had 2 suite companies asked to sponsor us on the school side of things because they're like, this is the best place to get them. And we have said no because it's a total disservice to students. It's not where they should go, and it could have a pretty poor impact to the industry. Like they need to build first. So, anyways, we
Well,
don't.
and there's something about Gen Z. A lot of research is showing that they quit when they're not successful at something. They just quit
Hmm.
something altogether.
Hmm.
And so, and I mean, I think the stats are showing that with suite rentals, that when someone's not successful year one, they literally leave the industry. And that's what's so
Yeah,
scary is like, and if guys, if we're wanting to pull income 4 years post grad, we need them to stay in this career and be making money. So
yeah.
really, it is doing a disservice to them. And let me just quickly say to all my admissions girls that are on here, I mean, we do not kill the dream in the admissions office. That's not where it's killed. We tell them let's name your salon together. We get them excited. The education, Erin, kills the dream. So
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
they
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
once they get into education, they should be inspired to learn different ways you can
Mhm.
make money, different ways you can be an entrepreneur, which we'll be talking about here in a minute. That
Yeah.
might not be exactly how they thought, as far as like owning a salon right off the bat.
Yeah. And so just to kind of quickly run through and then wrap, and then I also or wrap that portion of it. And I want to make sure I answer the questions in the chat too. Then we also teach them savings. So the basic of a salon and spa P&L. So that's money saved. Then money borrowed, which is all about debt. We do full lessons on how to pay back student loans. Then money saved, which is retirement, investing, how to make your money work for you, building an emergency fund, all that jazz. And we have a whole module called money taxed, which is all about the difference between legal tax avoidance, right? Which is legal and smart to reduce your tax liability, but not reporting and including not reporting tips is indeed actually illegal, right? And so really encouraging this industry to be tax compliant, to be a professional, considered a professional industry, because I think that's a problem. Whether or not we believe it or not, policymakers thinks it's not a professional industry, right?
And all these sorry, it's all video based. So the learn,
Videos, lessons, turnkey, PowerPoints, discussions, activities. So there's learning resources in every lesson, but every lesson has a video
love it.
as well. And then lastly is money plan, which is budgeting, whatever they want to do in their dreams and their life, how to make a plan for that. And then lastly, which I think this kind of addresses what Joseph requested in the question, which was, oh, not Joseph, sorry, which I think it was Sierra, which is how do you get them to care? So the last module, and this is what we did with our update, is we recognize like we need to teach some foundational professional skills. So we have a full lesson of like, what does it mean to become a professional? What are the skills and the behaviors and the traits of someone who is a professional? And like, you're no longer a student. How do you show up and act like a professional? We also talk about money ethics, right? The difference between a contract and an agreement. Oh, Jillian, I'm so glad to hear that. Oh, Jillian, that's nice to see you. I saw that flash and I was like, but I know who that is. So thank you. So yeah, I mean, I think it's like, you can't get everyone to care. You just can't. It's not possible. But you will change some hearts and minds. And, at least to me, and Jen and I were talking about this too, it's like I'm in the bias, yes, of wanting the best for students when they graduate, but I also have the bias of I want to protect schools because I'm a small business owner and I also know schools are small business owners and it's really freaking hard what you guys are trying to do. And so to me, this program is also partially protection. It's also protection for God knows what your students say after graduation, things like that. Like you are teaching them how to pay back student loans. You are teaching them to pay taxes. You're teaching them how to make money. Um, so yeah, okay, I'm gonna let Jen facilitate the chat and keep,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. No, I appreciate you sharing that. And it sounds to me too like that program is going to tell things. I feel like sometimes when there's a talking head up front of like, oh, salon suites aren't great. You're going to have to have inventory, you're going to have to build your clientele. And people are just like, okay, whatever. You guys are bringing outside research and data to back that up, and you're sharing it in a different way, other than just the talking head of an educator
Yeah.
that sometimes people think are clueless or whatever. So that's what I love outside curriculums. I think that schools should take, whether you're using Milady or Pivot Point, they're both fantastic curriculums. There's a lot of sub-curriculums out there that you can be adding in that I think can really benefit a school and take it up a notch. And this is one of them.
Mhm.
And I think the business side of it, by the way, that's what they want. They all want to be business owners. So why don't you go ahead and teach them how hard it is? Why don't you go ahead and give them a
Yeah.
reality check of how difficult that is? And I really do wish more graduates would go into the workforce first and really sort of like get their footing and figure it out and learn how to cut a hair, do a haircut quicker and all the things that
Yeah.
school, doesn't necessarily train them for.
Well, and Jen, I think something you and I have talked about is like, how do you teach? You mentioned to me on one of our walks where we like brainstorm and think is how do you teach confidence and how do you teach resilience and grit? And a core foundation and trait of entrepreneurship is just resilience. It's like pure survival and being willing to have grit and weather the challenges. And so we're not telling them like, don't go solo. It's like, here's the realities of entrepreneurship. Here's the financials. Here's the benefits of what happens when you what you don't have to worry about when you go work as an employee, right? And how it can prepare you for later in life entrepreneurship when you have a little bit more resources and a clientele built. And then we let them make their own decision. And at least then they have the facts when they make the decision and they're not operating off of, I don't know, whoever posted on TikTok, whoever posted on TikTok, part of the story, right?
Right, right. No,
Yeah,
so such good stuff. I'm gonna get to the questions. Joseph asked, and honestly, Sierra answered it spot on about how would the government actually determine how much a beauty professional earns, if some choose to, do it full time or not. What if a doctor chooses to only make $25,000 simply because that's what they want to make? It doesn't matter.
they don't care.
And again, it doesn't matter how much they're making in beauty. They're
Mhm.
just going to take a cohort from 4 years post grad, and they're just going to see how much they reported to the IRS, whether they are working at a Great Clips, working for
Mhm.
themselves, or working at Buffalo Wild Wings. And they are going to put that straight in and say, this is how much they're making. You either fail or you don't.
Yep. And I think that was Joseph that asked that.
Mhm.
That's the problem, Joseph, is I met with the Department of Education chief economist, and they don't care about any qualitative stuff. They don't care that there's women, that there's a high degree of moms that may choose to only work 1 day a week for a period of time until their kids are old enough where then they can go back full time. They do not care. So um, there's obviously a host of issues with that, but what we can control is how do we at least get the earnings above the threshold for as many students as possible?
Yeah. So Tina asks, what's the percentage of DOE money that's allocated to Cosmo versus all public universities? I don't know what that is, but I will tell you this rule is for everyone. It's not just it's not just to take down beauty schools. In fact, I talked to a bunch of people much smarter than me that think they weren't trying. Guys, they didn't create this rule just to cut out beauty schools. Like they really were kind of coming to the mindset of there's a lot of there's a lot of fraud with spending. There's a lot of money going up. There's a student loan debt crisis. How can we fix this? Well, what if we stop giving money to programs that don't produce graduates who make a lot of money? And if I'm not mistaken, Erin, when I read it, it's also public schools. This is not just vocational education. This is everyone across the board.
Yeah.
And it's not just Cosmo that's going to be hurt. And I forget, like 47 programs, or there's some sort of number of programs that are going to be hurt. The industry that is hit the most is beauty. It is
Hmm.
schools.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But there are people working, y'all. There are people working out there to try to reverse this. There are people right now in DC meeting with policymakers. Hill Day with AACS. People are going to meet with their congressmen. Everyone's trying different things. So if you want to get involved, I know there's ways to get involved. Okay, Sierra says what you said about students giving up. That's just let me go. Any tips on training that out of them?
I mean, I think that's a really interesting question. And I think, something that we always talk about is that we have a lesson that's called the three C's, and it's really about teaching how to stay focused and how to stay disciplined. But what it's really teaching, sorry, my throat keeps giving out. So,
You need
but
to go
what
grab some water.
No, I'm good. But what it teaches is a repeatable system to create the muscle of confidence. So number one, it's getting closure on whatever's holding you back, right? I use this all the time and in conversations is like, what do you need to get closure on? Okay, I failed. I did a terrible job at that practice cut. It totally crushed my confidence. Okay, close it, acknowledge it, move on. Then you need to get clarity of what you want to do in the future. Okay, so what can I do to change that? What skills can I do to change? What do I need to improve upon? Etc. Just get clarity about what you can do moving forward. And those two equal confidence, right? You get closure over what went wrong or what's holding you back, get clarity about what you want to do in the future, and then you act. And confidence comes through action. And so, not giving up, I think it's like, it's giving them the facts and the reality of education that this is hard. And, someone posted a comment on the TikTok where it was like, beauty schools promise that students are going to make six figures after graduation and, they're failing us. And it's like, my response to that is, first of all, if a school is promising that, that is an issue because that's also out of compliance. But there is like no careers, like besides investment banking that I've seen that you make or some big financial degree where you make six figures after graduation. Like it takes a lot of time and it takes resilience. And so I think you need to talk about that, that once they graduate, it will be hard and they will need to sacrifice because they're building their career. And I think it's so my answer too would also be like teach how to build confidence in terms of a framework, but then also teach that nothing comes easy. Just because they went to school, it doesn't mean life's going to be a cakewalk. They have to
Aaron,
work
I
at
think a
this.
lot of schools have failed in this area. I've been very, very vocal about this.
Mm,
They find their all-star graduates who are making six figures, and that's all they're bringing in. Those are the only guest speakers, and those are the only stories they're telling. And when you go to their testimonials, those are the only case studies they're showing. You are doing a disservice to every single person at your school if the only stories you're telling is that our graduates make six figures, our graduates make six figures. Why don't you bring in a graduate who went to a salon and built up her clientele for 5 years and now is a suite owner? Like, bring in the stories of grit because I think that is the mistake that. And by the way, this is not just beauty schools. This goes back to even when I was in university, like literally a 4 year school. This is what they would do. They gas people up by bringing in these uber successful people, and they're like, "Oh, look, this is going to be you."
mm.
Or I live in Tennessee and Oprah went to like Tennessee State and like she's like all over the billboards. And I'm like, yeah, sure, we're all gonna be like Oprah, like you freaking idiots. Like, can you give us someone relatable? Like you Oprah? Like Oprah? Like, are you kidding me? I just feel like schools should be telling the gritty stories. That's gonna help build resilience. That's gonna also help
Yeah.
build confidence when they get out into the field and they're not making six figures right away.
Hmm.
They're gonna be like, wait, I remember sitting in class where they brought this person in. Am I not good enough? And then they're gonna leave the industry. Like we really do, I think need to do a better job telling all these stories. Okay, let's get back to the chat. Did you see anything in there?
Yes. So I see what Gabrielle and Melinda says. I love that you guys do this. It's actually so funny. I am all about teaching people to know their why. I think that's like a really powerful exercise. We talk about their money why. So that's one of our first lessons. So is it travel? Is it providing for their family? Is it financial freedom? Is it security, right? Like really identifying, okay, what is your why? And everybody has different whys, right? Like, and allowing them to be really empowered in terms of what they do in school and what they want to do into their future to help them meet that reality because it does keep them motivated. And I think it's like, I think it's really powerful. And I love that you guys are doing that.
Love it. Okay, Erin, let's talk about the future of the industry and different streams of income. You're a
Mm.
professional, you can see people making money in other places. Beauty specifically, where do you see it going? Where can people, and by the way, you are a huge proponent of side hustling and multiple
Oh,
streams,
yeah. Oh, yeah. And
multiple.
yeah, I mean, I personally own three different companies, and within those companies, I have numerous streams of revenue besides our school company. That's where we have one stream of revenue, which is our school program. However, I'm a huge proponent of it, and it's so interesting because I straddle right on the school side and then also the professional side. So I'm constantly going back between that lens. And I was just on a podcast yesterday as a guest with someone who's really big in the working with large salon spas and med spas. And I will tell you, even with salon owners, the average profitability, okay, if someone wants to open their own salon, not as a solopreneur, but one with employees, is 4.7%. Okay. So for every dollar that comes in, 4 points less than a nickel is left. So my headline for you guys is that salon owners don't open salons to make a lot of money because they don't. And the reality is the successful salons that we work with, the ones that have 10, 12, however many locations, their primary source of income is not the salon. It is real estate, it is brand deals, it is, and I'm constantly reminded of it, the ones that have wealth, it's not just through the salon. And so I think in life, I think it's very smart to diversify and have additional streams of revenue. And so that can be on a very large scale, something like real estate, which, by the way, for the vast majority of people, they don't have the liquidity to acquire a bunch of real estate, certainly your
Sure.
students. So, what are the small things that you can do? Well, the small things that you can do, I think, is for someone who is a student, there's like a million things you can go on your app and start today, right? You can be a Ships driver, you can do DoorDash, you can do um I mean, Jen, you rented out your home for Airbnb, right? Like there is,
We are living in
yeah,
gig economy, you guys.
100%. There
Gig
is
economy.
there is a million ways that you can start to make additional revenue. And I credit Jen with this because for me, like I don't really need a side hustle, right? Like I have, and my focus is best used on growing the businesses. However, I really believe that, something that we're doing is teaching people how to monetize on TikTok. So I'm trying to teach myself. And one of the things I've already done is just I use a platform called Monarch. Okay. It's like my favorite financial management system. And like I literally buy this for my friends because I'm like, everybody needs to manage their money on finance. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna be an affiliate for Monarch. I've already made $100. I posted once about it, right? Like that took
Amazing.
me no time. And so especially for beauty and wellness professionals, there's unlimited opportunities for UGC. There's unlimited opportunities for, I mean, there's like a million ideas. Walking
Monetizing
dogs.
online.
Yeah.
Like, and UGC, by the way, is user generated content. And
Yeah.
so a brand like a L'Oreal would pay Jen Lyles for a video and so they can put it on their own Instagram to sell a shampoo.
Or, we do a ton of work with solos now too in our solo brand. And a lot of times, hairdressers will say, I love this brand. Can I be an affiliate? And then take a commission. Okay. So like post a video about a product that you're already using and then you get a commission, which is a combination of UGC and affiliate marketing, right?
Yes,
So,
exactly. And
um,
and by the way, this is the generation of that. I mean, half of Gen Z wants to be influencers. No school is teaching it today. It is
yeah.
blowing my mind that it is
And,
2026 and no one's teaching this.
and Jen, I just looked at this 28 to 40% of Americans report having a side hustle. I also just asked like a question that's those that report. And that's, how you define a side hustle is different. But to me, it's like having a stream of income that is not related to your main job. And that's a significant portion. And when I think about it, I have three employees. No, I have two employees on my team that have side hustles, right? Like just to make additional money. Like it's very normal.
So let me give a pitch to schools about why they need to be teaching side hustle life. I think that when someone comes into the admissions office and says they want to own their own salon, they're saying that because they don't want a boss, like at the heart of it. Like if you
100%.
really ask them
Yes.
why, I don't want a boss at the end of the day. So when they say that, sometimes it's just a sweet rental. It's not literally opening up a salon with 10 employees. You might have a couple out there who really do want to build an empire. Good for them. But I think for the most part, if you were to sit across the table from any student, they just want to be their own boss. They just want flexibility. They just want to work when they want to work. And they want to make their own money without giving it to someone else. Right? Like you work at a salon and you're like, crap, like I'm making all this money so you can get rich or just whatever. And so I think that if you could teach people they can still work at a salon and have an entrepreneurial spirit on the side, that is going to fulfill the
Yes.
things you're talking about.
Okay, I'm so glad you said this because I thought you were going to take it another route, and I'm so aligned with it. And the word that I want to say that I wouldn't necessarily say, um, like in the admissions process or anywhere, but like in this intimate forum is like, I do think there's a little bit of ego that comes into this too. There's something about sometimes people, I also got a message, like I said in a TikTok that, I owned a business and someone DM'd me privately and was like, help, I need to own a business. And I'm like, why? You
Right.
don't need to own a business. Like not everyone needs to be an entrepreneur. It's actually not that cool for most people. It's
Yeah, it's
actually
actually
really,
really, really stressful and the taxes really suck. Like it's
yeah.
not great.
Yeah, it's and so if we can like glamorize being a killer entrepreneur and really selling in the benefit that like there's no shame in
What
being,
is that word, entrepreneur? What does that mean?
yeah, it just means having a business within an existing business.
Okay.
Yeah, so that having a business, you have an entrepreneurial skill set, and typically you're compensated on performance. So you have some commission element where your money increases if you grow, but you're in the safety and a structure of an existing business, and you don't have to worry about the thousand other things that. And by the
Yeah.
way, if the average hairdresser is working 26 hours a week, that's 35% fewer hours than the standard work week. So you have a lot of other time to monetize your craft through side hustles and things like that. So I totally agree. Let's
And
glamorize
so,
the
how do
employee
you feel
life.
now, as someone who was not on TikTok before, and that's how I kind of want to wrap this up. I want to share with everyone um, how you're feeling about TikTok, and then let's share with everyone the new course.
Yes. Okay. So I'll kind of share this for two angles. Jen and I started talking about this, and Jen was like beating down my throat the importance of TikTok. um, for for
If you
over,
know me, I've been beating it down all
yeah,
your throats for
everyone's.
4 years.
She has. And honestly, like I am someone I don't love social media. I value privacy, so I had my own resistance to it, right? And now I see the strategic element from a business advantage and I'm trying to learn it for what Jen and I have been working on. And I think everybody needs to be on TikTok, and I am totally bought into how powerful this platform is. And I will tell you, I did not understand TikTok, and I also didn't want to be cringe like everybody. I didn't want to do those videos of your faces. And guess what, guys? I am trained to be on camera, and I am a highly paid keynote speaker. And I was afraid of being cringe, and I was afraid on going on camera. So that's why, like, but also once you figure it out and you get over the fear of it, it's like the reality is your professionals and your graduates, the ones who are posting on social media, specifically TikTok, because that's where people are being found, will have leverage and will have the attention capital over people that don't, just because they're being seen more. They will have greater leverage over those that are not. And we are a super aesthetic industry. It matters presence, it matters how you show up online. And so I think it really matters. And I think it is a legitimate opportunity, not just for your students to literally start like, and I'm actually posting, or I'm actually seeing a bunch of students that are building their TikTok while they're in graduation. I just came across someone, she was at a Paul Mitchell school actually. She has 15,000 followers and she said she fully built her clientele through TikTok for when she graduated. Like, how cool is that if we can produce people with clients when they graduate? That makes them more employable if they want to go work as an employee, but also if they do go solo, which again, we talked about that, they at least have clients. So they have clients that they can make money off of. And then secondarily, it's a total opportunity to make an additional side income, which is what you focus on, Jen.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's funny is I set out to create a course that's 100% video based, built on TikTok. Erin's taken the full course. It's all quick, easy videos to watch, all 1 to 3 minutes long. Literally, if you like scrolling TikTok, that's what this course is. That's literally how it's built. It's like you're just watching a bunch of TikToks back to back. Super fun. I think your students would absolutely freaking love it. I know that the people that I know have taken it just absolutely love it, and they're putting it into practice, and it's already working.
Hmm.
Uh, but when I first built it, it really was, I want everyone to be on TikTok Shop because I make so much money there and I want to teach everyone else how to make money there. 79% of the products sold last year were beauty products, beauty and health products. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like if your students already know about ingredients and the best hairspray to use, if it's already in their house and it's on TikTok Shop, they can just promote it and make money. Like this is my favorite retinol body lotion. Every time someone buys this, I get $10. Like that's crazy. And so, like, your students can be doing the exact same thing and be making a ton of money where they don't have to buy inventory, where they don't have to ship anything. All they're doing is recommending. They're already recommending things to their clients. Why not recommend at mass? It's the same thing.
And
Why don't, oh, go
oh,
ahead.
no,
No, go
and
ahead.
I was gonna say also doing that on video, you guys, like part of it is, you can't learn to drive a parked car, right? Like part of this is building the muscle where a lot of times what salons are saying is they have graduates that don't know how to sell and they don't know how to promote products and sell retail and they're literally using that muscle by putting themselves on camera. Think how much better they're going to actually be interfacing with clients if they can get on a video and promote a product. It's like a life skill that I think can extend so far beyond. So, like the byproducts, obviously, Jen's making a ton of money on TikTok Shop, right? I had one of my employees and team members test this. Corinne, I think she's on here. She's a hairdresser. That's her side hustle, and she works full time with us. And she had never posted on TikTok, you guys, never. She's amazing at it, by the way. You should follow her. She's like a natural. She should have been doing it sooner. But she posted just 8 simple videos, like most of them about hot dogs, just getting practice, right? Like taking what Jen taught. And she got 8 new clients. Or I'm sorry, 4 new clients,
You're
which
fine.
translates to an additional $10,000 of revenue behind the chair for her. Like that is extraordinarily meaningful. So even if like
She
I mean,
also had two salons reach out to her to come in and
yes,
do a class for them to
for
teach them.
500 each. Yeah.
Yeah, again, where in one of those 8 videos, she was talking about how to build up a clientele, and she had a salon reach out to her and say, "Could you come teach my
Yeah.
stuff?" Like, so what I was going to say is, when I first even created this course, what I did not realize was the byproduct of all of this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, like,
Mhm.
my friend Marla. She's been in the pilot program where it limits you. She needs to be in the full. She's been stuck at 3,000 followers for like 2 years.
Yeah.
She took my course last week and was so inspired. In 1 week, she's now up to over 15,000 followers. Literally,
Yeah.
he went from 3 to 15 in 1 week. And that's because Erin, in the course, like it's not me just teaching you monetization. I literally teach you how to post, how to capture,
100%.
how to edit, how to speak on camera confidently. It's like all the skills. And imagine your students were doing this regularly. How many like possible future students could that bring in for you? Again,
Right.
like there's so many byproducts to this. The end goal for me is like, yes, make money on TikTok shop, but there's so many other opportunities just by learning these skills.
100%. It really is a life skill. It's a sales skill. And it's like, okay, great question.
Yes,
Jen, you
it
want to take
can
this?
be.
Yes.
Yes, it
Yes.
can be. I have verified this. TikTok revenue, well, two things. First of all, you get a 1099 from TikTok. It's absolutely 100% reported. So you're going to have to report this to the IRS because it's documented that you're making money on TikTok. And because they're recommending beauty products, it can also be used as placement. So I have a school owner friend in the Jersey market where one of his students graduated and she is full time making money as an influencer. And that was counted as a placement because she is selling beauty products. So, yes, absolutely. There's so many great benefits to this, and the money can be really big.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Jen, I'm gonna put this. Do you want to talk about how I'm gonna send any of you guys can enroll in this course, by the way. I'm just putting,
Oh, can you change that to everyone? I can't, I can only do it to host and panelists because you're a host, you can change
oh,
it to.
yes, yes, yes. Okay, let me do it to everyone. Okay,
Yep.
so if you want to look at the course, and if you make sure you scroll down, because if you're like, hey, I'm not ready to take the course, there is some crazy preferred pricing because we just launched it. It's
Mhm.
very new, you guys. We literally went live with this yesterday. So it's like hot off the press. Scroll all the way down because Jen has an amazing free resource if you're like, I'm not ready to start. That is 80 free content ideas for
Mhm.
beauty professionals. And I literally just looked at Jen's PDF on the hooks because I was like, okay, I'm just like getting in practice. So she has a ton of free resources too, but you guys can enroll in the course if you want to experience it. I think it's what, like $500 off right now or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. And then I'm also going to put this the form link if you can add that. Again, I cannot add this to the everything.
Yes, I will
So
do it.
okay, perfect. Add that to the everyone for everyone to see that. So right now, guys, we actually did not create this for schools. Can I be honest with you? We created it for licensed professionals, and that's who we're selling it to. But because Erin and I are so aligned with schools, we're determined to come up with a school model. So if you are interested in that, we have a couple options there. Go ahead and fill out that form so that we know you're interested and we can come up with school pricing for you. But this originally and will continue to be sold to professionals. It was not,
Mhm.
again, it's great for students. It's wonderful for students. But we really want licensed professionals, your grads who graduated 4 years ago and need to be making more money. We want them
Yeah.
in this course. That's what's important to us is that people
Yeah.
currently in the industry get excited to make more money. So that's actually who we made it for.
Yeah, for sure. And so please do in that form. It's really helpful for Jen and I to know interest level too. Like just
Yes.
fill it out purely because that will kind of dictate our urgency and how we bring this to life for schools. But um yeah, we're really
Okay.
excited. So
This
thank you
is fun. Okay, we
guys.
have 2 minutes left. We're going to make this a part two. So this was
Mhm.
part one. Our part two webinar, where we're going to be diving more into TikTok Shop so that you guys better understand that. Again, I've been doing tons of webinars on TikTok Shop. If you've been a follower of our webinar series for the past 5 years, you've probably seen 5 different videos on this. It's not going away. So we're just going to keep on doing it. And we're going to have that's going to be our March webinar. I'm going to have Erin on there. We might even bring on some guests, I think would be fun to talk
Yeah,
about their success on TikTok because this is not going away and we want your students to be successful. We just want them to make more money. And I think you do too.
totally. And I put in one final thing too. And
Yeah.
like TikTok is one platform and that's the platform I'm teaching, but just to kind of or that we're teaching. But to reiterate, this teaches them how to monetize online, period, regardless of the platform. And like that's how the full course was designed. So this is like, again, such a powerful life skill. And Jenna, thank you for your persistence and like continuing to share this with the industry because I think it is so
I
important.
put my heart and soul into this one and I gave away all my goods. Someone's going to come along and make way more money than me. I literally gave my entire playbook in
She
this.
did. She did.
I hold back nothing. Okay, y'all, this was super fun. Erin, thanks for being a friend and
Of
thanks for being
course.
a guest today. This was fun and I'm excited for next month. Thank you all so much. And please continue to fight for our industry any way you can. Talk to other school owners, get involved, talk to your congressman, and let's get this rule reversed. Okay, you guys have a good one. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.